I saw you posted a video. Was it the FBI raiding one of your homes? Can we talk about that? What the hell's going on? What are you doing over there?
And during that phone call, I'm trying to discern if they're a massive action taker and they're going to just become obsessed with everything they can get from this group. If they're not that person, I'm not going to let them in. That's the kind of person that stops showing up for calls and then complains about the result they didn't get from the effort they never put in.
All right, everybody. The first episode of the new year. James Lascara, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
The elite investor.
You are the elite investor. Everyone is the elite investor.
Everyone is, right? That's the beauty of real estate. Anyone can get in. So we were just talking right before we went live, kind of how you've scaled your business essentially, right? Your first hire. So walk me through that.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, thanks for having me on the show. I didn't mention that yet. Very honored. I've seen a lot more qualified people than me sitting right in this position, so I feel honored to be among them. Thank you. So I started out not the right way. I would not recommend doing it the way I did, which was convenience. So I started with a hire who I knew she was, I hired her as an assistant. She was a trainer at the gym that I went to. We were also kind of friends at the time. And she wanted to learn more about the real estate, she thought. And then once she got into it, she realized she wasn't all that passionate about it. And I think we weren't a good cultural fit. We could be friends, but that doesn't mean you'd be a good professionally cultural fit. So she was with me for about 5 months, and then every time I did a hire after that for what I really was like an ops associate that grew into an ops manager after going through and realizing that it really needs to be a full-time job. So I learned a lot about how to screen people. Now I screen people very, very intently. I have a hiring effort right now for cultural fit. Mm-hmm. So I think it's better to try to find the right cultural fit and train them on tasks than to find somebody who's really good at technical tasks and train them how to have a high drive or be a hard worker or be creative or problem solve.
We've dealt with that with family members, right? Where it's like the family member can be super good at the job description. They can, they have the right degree and they have the experience and everything, but they're a member of your family and that can get in between the work dynamic. Yeah. So I know what you're talking about for sure. And the elite investor. So explain this to me. From what I've seen, it's essentially a meetup. You guys get together, people can network and connect, but you also have the guest speaker component, which is super interesting. You've had architects, contractors. So how did this thing come about? How'd you start this?
Yeah, I love this question. So it was at the end of 2020. So a little over 2 years ago, I had some friends who saw what I was doing. I had really, really rapidly scaled my rental business, and they had these questions. And I noticed that 3 of them all had the same questions all around the same time. I said, why don't we just all come over to my house? I'll tell you how these super easy principles of how you can buy your first rental or whatever. So the first elite, we didn't have a name for it. The first elite investor was just in my living room with 3 other people. And so that grew into them telling a couple friends. And the group of 3 kind of became a group of 5. And then we shifted to, we did it in a small room at the brokerage where I hang my license. And then that grew to be too big for that space. So we went to Glory Days Bar and Grill. It was a room for 30. And we were actually there. We actually put it on pause for several months just because I was worried about growing the business, working in the business versus on the business. And then this year we decided to make the shift from a small unpaid venue, and the consistent feedback piece I always heard about the venue was it's too far away. So I said, we got to kind of hit the myriad of things. We got to have food. We got to have enough space for people. I want to keep it free. That's something I'm very intent on. And it's got to be conveniently located. And so to find because of the free component, I was like, well, how am I going to find that for free? The reality that I came to realize is that you have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, well, sponsors. And so I think our first one was in May where we shifted from that restaurant venue to Hyde House in Hyde Park. And our first one, we went from having, 25 to 30 people to we went immediately to over 100. I was like, oh, this is something. And so the next step, I'm super passionate about optimizing. So I'm like, what do we have to tweak to get a little bit more results? And so we just tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. And then we set a record, I guess, at our last one. We had about 210 people at the December one.
Damn. So, that's awesome. And what guest was that?
That was a Navy buddy of mine, a Navy veteran, Adit Shah. So he actually flew in from San Diego to share his message. Yeah. So
And was he about, what was kind of his deal? Investing, real estate investing?
it was on the art of delivering value, starting from nothing. It's more of like more entrepreneurial type talk. More
So
than
you've
technical.
dipped into that almost personal development, self-development space, entrepreneurial versus, hey, this is only for real estate investors or realtors.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a balance of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say yes, we have.
Yeah, that's cool. When's the next event?
February 21st. It's the week. Yeah, February 21st. The
21st.
week after Valentine's Day.
Have you revealed the guest yet?
Not yet.
You want to reveal it now on the show?
Well, the reality is they haven't confirmed yet. So
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
We don't want to say anything that might not happen.
Yeah,
I'm going to be at that one, though.
I look forward
I've
to it.
missed all of them since June. I had my baby. It's been obviously tough, but I'm coming to the next one. I'll be there.
I look forward to it. I'm gonna hold you to it.
210 people. So holy shit. I mean, how many people can that place hold, right? You must be damn near maxed out.
So we are maxed out. So I joke sometimes that we need to hold the next one at the Emily Arena. So the main auditorium area that could probably handle 300.
Right.
But then we go for the guest speaker, and we've actually curtailed the guest speaker to be less time intensive because everybody gets crammed in, and then people don't like that.
Yeah.
So how the structure of the event is we do open networking for roughly an hour. That's from 7 to 8 p.m. And then we corral everybody into the auditorium. And that has a capacity, depending on how people sit how closely people sit, that has a capacity of about 160 to 180. So there were like 25 to 30 people that just they didn't come in the room. They didn't
Wow.
come in when the speaker started. Giselle, my ops manager, she's off camera right now.
Yeah.
But she had to go around the back to be like, "Hey, will y'all quiet down because you're making a ruckus and there's people in here." I guess that's a good problem to have. But
It's a great problem. Are you surprised at the level of interest?
I
Because this isn't something you set out to just create this huge thing. I mean, you're in a living room at first. Now you've got over 200 people coming.
that's like an oddly surface level question, but so deep because I have immense belief in myself that I'm gonna deliver success in whatever I do, but I'm also just you better earn it kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I think we could continue pushing it and deliver more value to more people. That's my big thing.
That's such an interesting take because I feel the same way about this show. Like when we first started the show, I didn't have a vision that it would be, large, but 18,000 on Instagram in less than a year. I'm not surprised. We put in work, we've put in value, and now we're just trying to get bigger and better guests and provide more value. And that's why you're here, sir.
I appreciate it. That's massive. 18,000 in a year. That's
crazy.
Yeah, that's huge.
But I think it's because there's not a whole lot of local platforms, especially podcast platforms that deliver real estate, culture, history, Tampa specific. There's just not a lot of us out there. So
Yeah. I love what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
I see people on. I'm like, oh, I know Garrett. He lives down the street from me. Or who was another guy that I saw on here? I think Ryan.
Ryan McGinnis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a great setup. His RPM lending. It's a good shop. So real estate investing, you're in the military and obviously military guys don't make a lot of money. Everyone knows that, unfortunately. And people have to, in the military, figure out a way to increase their income, secure retirement if they're not going to stay their whole career. You've seemed to found a way to do that. Is this something from childhood? You always knew you were going to be a real estate investor? How did this develop for you?
No, it kind of happened all as the result of some missteps, I would say. So I moved to Tampa. Well, let me start even before that. I bought my first house in 2014, and I was house hacking. I didn't even know there was a term for it, but I was like, well, let me offset my mortgage payment by having a roommate. So I did that. I was like, that works. I don't need a lot of space. I don't need fancy things in life. And so did that until I moved to Tampa. So I did that for 5 years, moved to Tampa in 2019. And I was like, let me just rent out the house that I moved from and they'll pay my mortgage. Seems pretty simple. Well, I thought it was too simple. And I was just like, let me just hire the first property manager that I call. And that seems great. And just leave it up to them. So they did a terrible job. The house, they didn't even list it for rent. The house sat vacant for 3 months. And I was settling into Tampa and just unraveling this whole I didn't even know how to check to see if it was up for rent, right? So it's just a big problem. A few maintenance issues that like they just weren't checking up on the property. Hired a different property manager because I fired them, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like less intelligent people than me, like they figured out real estate pretty well. Like I'm a problem solver. How did this manage to happen to me? And the result is I was just really poorly prepared. Like I just thought it was simple, and it is pretty simple, but it's not always easy. And so I, hired a new property manager. We dropped the price and we got somebody in there. And once they were in there, I was like, well, if I really look at real estate, and this was around the time the interest rates were coming super low, by the way. So if you really look at real estate, there's so many benefits from cash flow, tax advantage, long-term appreciation, and principal pay down. So I was like, well, why don't I take this opportunity? Like, I have two options. I could be miserable with my experience and just like swear off real estate and say, it's not for me. Or I can actually use it as a catalyst for growth and use that hardship to kind of like incentivize me to learn more. And that's exactly what I did. So then I closed on my first rental where it was only ever going to be a rental, I think in July. And then I closed on like 6 places in 8 months. I was just like, let's just keep going.
So I'm just trying to think of the year. This was like 2020,
Yeah.
2021. Wow. Yeah, it was a very interesting environment then in real estate. I mean, money was free. You could get 2.5%, 3.5% interest. Now it's 3 or 4 times that.
Yeah.
Have you shifted your strategy since then?
Oh yeah.
Like everyone else.
Oh
right?
yeah. You have to pivot. So I remember I was buying in both Tampa and Fayetteville, North Carolina, a big military market. And a big cash flow market, not a big.
Is that because you were stationed there at one point?
I never was. No, it was just like I'll put it this way: you could buy a 4-unit. I did buy a 4-unit in Fayetteville for $190, and then I bought a 1-door here for $420. And so it's just a different market.
Targeting families that lived at the base or wanted to be off the base, or.
Well, that was a low income housing type project. It was like a Section 8 type.
So how'd you find that market? You just knew there was a base there?
There's a team, a pretty successful team of like military-centric investor agents in Fayetteville.
Oh, interesting.
So I got plugged in with them through the military kind of real estate community.
Oh, cool.
And so my first couple rentals were low-income housing here, and they did well. They did about what I thought they would do, and then the challenges with that asset class came, and I realized that's not really where I want to be long-term. And so exited all of that within about a year and a half, and then kind of shifted my strategy as I grew and learned more. Yeah.
I owned 11 low-income units in Sarasota, and I bought the first 2 in 2017, stayed in the same little apartment complex, got to know the president of the association, bought a few more from her, ended up owning 11. Same thing as you, right? It kind of, it comes with a certain headache. And a lot of that was the management's perspective, right? All of my tenants were fantastic. They all paid on time. They were all great people. But for some reason, management in that space is really, really tricky.
Yeah.
And so I just said, you know what? I want to get out of the deal, even though it's a great investment. I want to take the cash and drive it elsewhere. So that's kind of what you did too.
Yeah.
And then you focused. Now, what do you focus on currently? Is it development, rental property?
So development, and then capital allocation and commercial syndications. Those are our big 2 pushes right now.
Interesting. So commercial syndication, looking at retail, stuff like that.
Mostly multifamily or mixed use.
Do you have any pictures of some of your investments?
I don't on this page. So it's funny because I was about to post one today, and now it's unfortunate I did. We just closed. We closed on 2 deals. So we had a lot of momentum at the end of the years. We were definitely grinding. So we closed, and this is all in partnership. This isn't just me. So we closed on a commercial mixed use on the campus of UGA, Class A asset built in like 2021. So that's got a lot of equity upside. That's not a great cash flow play the first 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of equity upside. And then we closed on a commercial multifamily. It's about, I think it's like 92 or 100 units, something like that.
Fantastic.
In North Carolina, also at the end of November. So
wow, it's a tricky market for that space. So you guys just putting extra money down, or how are you making those deals work?
Buying them both deep. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Buying them both at a pretty good discount. So especially the North Carolina one, like they went through a whole underwriting webinar of like all these different scenarios. So that one's got a pretty risk protected I think it's a pretty risk protected investment with the environment that we're in now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been an investor since essentially COVID, right? So 3-4 years, which is relatively new.
Yeah.
So how are you absorbing information? Where are you getting all this knowledge? How do you know how to syndicate a property? How do you know about commercial property? You must absorb or read books or.
I learn most by I always say get in the right rooms. So if somebody, I'm not the smartest person in the room all the time, and I try to be in the rooms where I'm not because I'm going to learn something. But I try to learn from people that are in that space. But let me be clear, this isn't me who's putting together the entire, I don't acquire the property. I don't find the deal. I'm not doing all the underwriting on the deal. I'm not doing a lot of the due diligence, like going to the property all the time. But what I do is I invest in these deals and I review the risk analysis on them. And then if I do, I share them with my investors. And so you can bring value to other people in that way. So that's exactly what that business does.
That's how a lot of those deals are done though. I mean, a lot of the guys that are investing in multifamily evaluate deals and write checks. They're not the ones that are going and finding the deals. I mean, it takes many, many people to get some of those deals done, as you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So you are a guy who likes to do it yourself and kind of learn along the way type deal, and also learn from the people that know more than you.
Yeah. I feel like I'll always be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find people for the elite investor?
Like the speakers?
Yeah.
It's a mix. So some people have approached me and be like, "Can I speak?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great." I mean, a couple when we did the flip, what am I trying to say here? The flip panel. We had an awesome panel with Scott Randall and Clark Lunt and the Toros, Keely and Mark Toro. What great folks, by the way. Like all three of those parties, just amazing. We reached out to them. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to. We see what you're doing." I was like, "Well, that was easy, right?" And so people want to contribute to, I think, to a platform where you're kind of giving back to the community. We all are. And so we've had that. And then we recently had Sam Silverman come on. He just offered, he was like, "Hey," because we've been friends since before the Elite Investor started. So he's like, "Hey, if you ever want me to come and speak it," I was like, "Actually, we do. Would you come?" So it was great.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, Keely and Mark are fantastic. I mean, they are true experts in house flipping. They've done incredible projects and really detailed work too. How are you? I almost see house flipping. There's almost two types of investors. The one is the volume. They get in, they get out. Unfortunately, a lot of those investors cut corners. There's also the kind that are really quality oriented. I think Mark and Keely are in that group.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself? Do you want to scale what you're doing large, or are you very individually detail focused and you like to have a hand on your projects?
We're pretty detailed. But we don't do flips. Like we'll probably, at this point, we'll partner on a flip if somebody else is project managing the deal. But we're not really cut out for flips right now. So there's 4 businesses that we do, and that's kind of a fancy way of saying we got 4 different strategies. So I have my license, so I work with investors on the buy or sell side, working with clients, and then our rentals, that's straightforward, that's the business. And then the 2 that I mentioned we're trying to grow, which is residential urban infill developments, that's only in Tampa, and then the capital in commercial deals, and that's basically all Southeast. None of those deals are in Tampa, actually.
Those infill developments in Tampa, how's that going? Do you have any projects out of the ground currently?
Yeah, we have 3. I drove by one on the way over here.
Yeah, you always got to check it out, right?
Yeah.
Check on the people, see if they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures up?
Yeah, we probably have some videos. Let's see, that one. Yeah, that's I think some outtakes, but it's the site. I think it's like a.
And these are single family, or are these?
This is like me messing up on.
Oh, this is a blooper reel.
Yeah, we like doing those.
They're fun.
But that's the site of a single family build. So keep going down. So that one right there. That's a single family. That'll be a 3-story. And so Michael Lehrman of Flamingo Homes, he's a buddy of mine, and we joke about this stuff because he's both a developer and a builder. I'm not a builder. I don't plan on getting my contractor's license. So what I do is I try to put together a math problem that's profitable, right? Obviously, there's some ethical boundaries I'm not going to cross. Like, we want to deliver a viable product that somebody can live in long term. But if the math problem doesn't work, you don't have a successful business. So if somebody asks me what I do, who's just a Joe, like not in the real estate space, I say I put together a math problem where 4 + 2 = 9. 4 is the build and 2 is the land, and then the 3 is the profit. Obviously, that's very simplified numbers, but so we work with different builders here that do our projects. So it depends on what we need to build there.
Right. Yeah. Are you having trouble right now finding sites and then finding sites that have correct zoning?
Yeah.
Yeah, like anyone, right?
Yeah.
Some of a really kind of a hot topic in the city council is the zoning regulations. The city's looking at maybe changing some things, streamlining the process. Have you seen that as challenging, just as far as getting the permitting and the land use and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, like it's hard to predict. I almost feel like, and I don't feel like I'm that experienced yet in this space, right?
Yeah.
Our development company we have 3 projects. We've exited 1. We have 3 projects ongoing right now, but all of the rezones we've done, we sold early without building on them just to make the money.
Yeah.
I'll always sell a deal if I can make money. Like I have a 100% rule in 1 year rule, or 100% in 1 year rule, or I'll always sell it if that's the case.
You would do good at a casino. Take your chips off the table, walk out.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I'm like I'm very anti-gambling actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Me too.
So, let's see, where was I going with that? So,
We were talking about, yeah, go ahead.
it's hard to predict. So like on one of our projects, the city came back and they're like, well, the back of your lot actually backs up to another street and it's not an alley or just another lot back there. So you have to do a design exception as a matter of formality. Well, that added like 3 months to our permitting. So that one, we owned the land since April and we just got our permit like beginning of December. And then another one that we bought in September, permit's ready. Like they're starting at the same time, which is kind of crazy. Yeah,
you said like, maybe I'm not the best to speak on this because you've only developed 3 deals and you are a newer investor, but I think that's important. I think we should encourage more people to get into development. We need more housing supply. If you only leave it up to the big boys, all these large corporations building homes, like that's not a way to develop a city. I think we should have a more encouraging code. So your perspective is important. That's why I'm asking you. Like, I
appreciate it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for someone who's new, who's on their 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 1st development, how challenging is it? Is the headache so big and it's so complicated where people throw their hands up and say, well, I have the money to develop a property, but I'm not going to? Like, I think that would limit our supply. That's not good for the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me though, like I love the risk analysis of putting all these projects together. And at the end of the day, you will never live in a risk-free environment. So my big thing, and I always tell my team this, I'm like, you gotta win from the beginning, and you gotta buy the deal with equity. Like if you buy a deal and you mention it to somebody else and like, oh, you got a good price, you're probably starting off on the right foot.
Yeah.
And if you got a deal and you can instantly sell it for 20 or 30 grand, then also you're on the right foot. So we try to do that.
Can you pull up Zillow real quick, Tyler? I totally agree. I mean, the numbers have to work for any developer to make sense of a deal, especially from a risk perspective, right? I mean, a deal making sense doesn't just have to be in the green. It has to be further enough in the green to where you're actually comfortable with moving forward on the project. I mean, if you make $1 on it, that's a profit, but not good enough for you to put a shovel in the ground, right?
Yeah.
So Tyler, can you go to South Tampa, kind of down near the base, off Enter Bay? I just wanted to show you this, James. This just popped up. $795 right there, Tyler. You see it on Enter Bay?
That's too small.
Oh, on your screen? There it is. Yeah, click that. So this was zoned, this is 0.69 acres, zoned RM35, which is super intensive.
Yeah.
And, with RM35 zoning on a 7/10 of an acre lot, you could probably get 24 units at $795, which is a pretty damn good deal. Would you're essentially focusing on Tampa infill. Do you think Tampa should increase density on sites like this? Tyler, if you maybe go to a satellite view, you can exactly see where it is. The question is like, do you think Tampa is going to become a dense city like a Boston or like a real walkable city or kind of the way you've seen zoning, is it more like a suburban, I don't know, regular town? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think I don't think it'll become like a Boston long term.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got like too much infrastructure in such a tight area there. Where Tampa's more spread out.
Yeah.
But your question was, should we increase the density there? 35 is pretty dense.
Oh, yeah.
35 is pretty dense there. So
Well, I don't mean on this site specifically. I was just pointing out that, hey, here's an extremely dense site, further away from the downtown core. I guess the question is, do you think other sites that are as far away should be denser?
I think we should see some, like, I wish they would allow greater density in just some of the residential areas. So a lot of the future land use in my neighborhood, for example, I live in Riverside Heights, is R10. And I mean, you can have a super spread out area, but you go down the street, super spread out lot with one unit on it, but you go down the street and there's RM24 and you've got like just a stone's throw away from R10. It's kind of like, why?
Right.
So
I guess the fear with single family homes is people don't want to be in a single family neighborhood and then have like a 4-unit be built brand new right next to them.
yeah, and I get that, but
I get it too.
at the end of the day, like you're not gonna please everybody. If you go out and set out to please everybody, you please nobody. So that the one next to it's been on the market for a while. I remember looking at that one.
Yeah, that was an old little trailer park. They've bulldozed it. The lot is cleared, 2.1. It's a little overpriced in my opinion, but who knows? It's a tough environment to make anything work. 18 duplexes. Yeah, that's an interesting spot. I like it because the base is right there. I think you could get some nice housing and get some service members in there. But yeah, I don't know. I think and I do think that certain areas are going to require different zoning, of course, right? Like maybe near the base is more intensive and in between that and South Tampa is less. And then as you approach the urban core, it gets more intensive.
Yeah, I'm under contract on a lot right now that we will need to rezone. We can look at that if you want.
Let's pull it up.
I haven't closed on it yet, but I have it protected under contract, so I'm comfortable talking about it.
There you go. Where's it at?
It's so he actually pulled it down off of you might want to pull up the property appraiser website if you can. And it's 1302 Oregon. And here I want to tell you about my principle of asymmetric bets. Because I think that's important, at least for my risk strategy and like my investment strategy. I think that's important to understand. And that's something I kind of talk about in my group, which is another thing that I kind of want to share on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 1302 Oregon. So this is an interesting one.
And when you bought this, you must have bought it, at a great price for you to go through the rezoning.
I don't own it yet.
Well, you're under contract, I mean.
Yeah. So if you pull up the plat map, like the yellow map area, we'll look at it that way. Yeah, talk to me in 6 months to see if this is successful. This would be a good testament to the show. So it's a double lot, and the in-place zoning is RS50. So you automatically easily have two houses there. Interesting part is it's 107 wide and 101 or 102 deep. And so what the owner now, what he did is you got a corner lot and you got an interior lot. So he added 7 feet from the corner lot to the interior lot, making it 57 wide. So it's a little bit better than 50 wide, especially if you're going to try to build 2 units. And you have more than 100 feet depth. So when you do all the density calculation, you have about 5,700 plus square foot. And so if we rezone to RM16 or RM18, we need about 5450 square feet. And so we meet that. Future land use is R20, so that supports a Euclidean rezoning of RM16 or 18. If we do that, we can then build 2 units. So I'm picking it up. Our contract price is $300, and this
2
is
units on each parcel, so 4 total.
Well, I'm only buying 1 parcel. He wants to keep the one on the corner. His plan is to build like a luxury single family residence, which is great. That helps me too. And so he's going to keep 50 feet of frontage, and then the existing depth is what it is, and he'll put up a luxury single family home, like 3-story house there. And so we'll seek to rezone and do 2 units on the interior lot. So my downside, so I'm picking it up for $300. The value of a single family lot there is probably about $280. And so I figure I have a 80-20 risk here. So I have a 20% risk of it being unsuccessful and a $20K downside, like my estimate. These are rough numbers. But my risk of upside, I probably have an 80% chance of success and probably a 70 or 80K upside if I'm able to get 2 units there. And that's in Plant High School District as well.
Yeah, that's a great area. Well, I mean, going back to what we were saying just about increasing density in Tampa, this is really an area that could easily handle more density. In fact, a lot of the future land use, like you said, is upzoned.
Something real quick, just because like I try to stay apprised of other projects that are going on in the area. So that mixed use development that's at the corner over by Blake High School, they're putting a Publix in there. They've got a lot of
Zoom out, Tyler, just a second if you can. Try to show the river. Is it not letting you? That ain't it. Maybe I know you can. Anyway, it's northeast of here, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of between that and Midtown, and you got UT there too. So
yeah, all of this up here. It's all right, Tyler. But yeah, that's a fantastic area, and they're well underway with a lot of that construction. Now that has affordable housing.
It's a mix.
Mixed, right?
Yeah.
Commercial, affordable housing, retail.
Yes, there's a designated number of units. I think it's it's not the majority number of units. I think it's a minority number of units that are going to be designated as affordable housing.
Yeah.
It's like less than 50%, and then just mixed use like retail shops and Publix and stuff, which would be good for that area.
It's going to be super sweet. Yeah, look up the West River Development Tampa. Google that. You can pull it up. It's an awesome site. It's huge. It's massive development.
Yeah, it's crazy. I drive by it every day. So I just bought a house last week that's 2 blocks from the one I'm on a contract on. So
that's
I'm
awesome.
a believer.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in that.
Well, yeah, if you're going to live there yourself, right? You have to be.
Yeah.
Well, there's that development. Then across the river, the Armature Works Tampa Heights development. They're supposed to expand all that. The Pearl Phase 2. Plus, the YMCA property in Tampa Heights is supposed to be, I guess, bulldozed and redeveloped. I mean, there's a lot going on up in that kind of northwest urban core area. I mean, this is a huge development. And actually, this is only one component because on the parcel directly north, I think it's like right where Rick's on the River is, that's another area that's going to be redeveloped too, Rome Yards.
And they're doing the Riverwalk down Rome too.
So with this project, this one, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it all goes through, would you keep this one?
No, I'll probably sell it.
You'll probably sell
it.
Now,
I don't think I want to own residential rentals I don't want to own any more in 2 to 3 years.
Why is that?
It's not scalable. I'd rather put $100,000 into, I'd rather diversify it amongst different commercial real estate syndications, even ones that are not in my market, and have that be more passive for me as I stay really active in the development stuff, and have somebody else be the actual operator or manager of that, than own single family rentals.
They're too management intensive.
Yeah, for the bang for the buck. Yeah, I would agree with that.
There's always a push and a pull with an investor when they start out and, they didn't have a trust fund or anything like me and like Tyler, and right, like we don't have a huge bank account backing us or a hedge fund or anything. And there's the idea of, hey, do we sell, get the cash out, turn that into more cash and keep doing that? Then we get our big bank account and we can make other plays. Or do you slowly kind of build that portfolio? Like I read an article of this, who's either a firefighter or a cop in Brooklyn. And throughout his 35-year career, he built up a portfolio in Brooklyn worth over $300 million. Wow. And maybe that can only happen in a place like New York City from, the 1980s till now, right? But the idea is you can build incredible wealth given time in real estate. And there's no reason why a strategy of you building that 2-unit, filling it with tenants, keeping it, refi, keep doing it. So you want a more almost accelerated approach to what you're doing. And it almost sounds like you're hedging your development bet with the security of these commercial assets, right?
Yeah, I also think you get like better scalability. You also get more bonus depreciation usually with those commercial deals. I'm super intensive on looking at my tax situation a lot. So for every reason I would say. And I try to stay, I'm not always the best at this, but I try to stay pretty sharp with my vision of what my future life is going to look like. Yeah. And dealing with a broken window from a tenant on a 2-unit that I own, that's not part of the vision. So I don't want to be dealing with issues like that. And could I get a property manager? Yes, and that goes right back into the same discussion of it's not quite as scalable as I want it to be, like the commercial is.
It's going to be expensive too if you only have 10, 15, even 50 units.
Yes.
Versus commercial property is a little bit, well, they usually run themselves too if it's a triple net. This year's the first year I did 2 commercial leases on properties I own, and it really is a game changer. I've been like a fix and flip guy. I told you I own those 11 little rental units, and I've done an office development for myself, just small scale stuff. But these 2 commercial properties opened my eyes, and we talk about that all the time. Where like commercial is the real lever to accelerate wealth. If you can get commercial property in a great location at a great price, there's no guarantees with investing, but you're pretty damn close.
Yeah.
In terms of appreciation. Plus, like you said, cost segregation, incredible tax benefits. I mean, sometimes you can wipe your income off your tax return.
I did that last year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the elite investor we've talked about, man, we went through it all. So you mentioned a little bit about the future and kind of your vision.
Yeah.
What is that for you? I mean, fast forward 10 years, where do you want to be with your investments?
I'll tell you about something that came up recently that was an unexplored opportunity that just presented itself, and it's just grown more rapidly than I could have ever anticipated. If you go to that top middle picture, the brain logo. So I'll tell you a story. So what I started noticing after the first elite, it was really after the first elite investor that we did in Hyde House, started with probably like 10 messages. And then the next one I got like 20 messages. And then after one of these events, I'll get 20 to 30 messages on Instagram. And it usually goes something along the lines of, can we sit down for coffee and let me pick your brain? We did a parody video of me like running away from somebody asking that. We like to have fun. But I legit tried to do that for a period of time. And then I realized that kind of person asking that question, usually what the question really is can I sit down with you and learn the things that you've taken time, energy, money, and effort to learn for free so that I can enter the real estate investment space and achieve the same results that you have? And the answer became, no, I can't quite. I don't really have the time. And that's like, I don't have the capacity to teach you all that for free. Because at the end of the day, I have my businesses to run. I do believe in the principle of delivering value. And so we came up with this concept of starting basically a locally focused mastermind where people can join the group to get that value. So we started October 1st, just 3 months ago, and we just crossed 40 members.
Wow.
So I'm thankful for the growth, thankful for my team for supporting that. It's been all hands on deck kind of lift, but
That's amazing.
yeah, I appreciate it. So that is a huge part of the future for us because
So scaling that.
yeah.
Interesting. Almost like a bigger pockets type thing. There's so much you could grow out of that too, right? Like you could do your own podcast. You could have books and have different speakers come and join you at these. Now, how do you do it? Is it a meetup?
Yeah, but there's really 4 pillars for how we deliver value to our members. So one is a weekly Zoom call. The Zoom call usually has a focused topic. We bring in outside speakers. Sometimes there's a speaker within the group. Sometimes I'm the speaker. And all of them get recorded. So anybody joining the group at any time can go back and play those back.
Cool.
And then the second pillar is, and this is our unfair advantage right here. It's once a month in-person event where we meet up as a group and we'll go over one of our development projects, or somebody will host a walkthrough at their flip site and show really unique things that they're doing in this exact market as a way to optimize their business strategy.
Very cool.
The third pillar is a once a quarter one-on-one with me, and it's pretty cool because usually what people have been doing is they'll identify like a really, really unique problem that they're having in their business or maybe with a certain strategy. And we kind of like it, they benefit from me approaching it from a different perspective on this call. Like, hey, have you considered this?
Yeah.
Or like, have you thought about this resource where you could apply to it? So people, I think, have been getting the most leverage out of those sessions. And then the fourth pillar is what I would just call access. So like we have a private Facebook group that's for members only. And then we have like a big library of resources. So if there's any tool I've ever used in real estate investing, it goes in the resources. So people can have that too.
Books, whatever that may be.
We have a reading list. Yeah, you can get on the reading list if you want.
I feel like too, when someone would come to you with a unique problem, it almost gives you an opportunity, if you haven't had that problem yet, to go, damn, what would I do in that situation? Wow, interesting. And it kind of, it's kind of a give and a take, right? Like you're actually getting a lot from these 40 people because you aren't 40 people, you're one person.
Yeah.
And they're going to have problems that you might not come across in your career.
Yeah, for sure.
So having them come to you, that's an interesting way to do it. I love it. So since October, 40 members, and how can someone sign up on this?
Yeah, so we have a link in my bio on Instagram where people can go there, and it's the second link, it looks like. So people can learn what that's about. The cool thing is when people join, I cap their price at wherever they're at permanently. So as long as they stay in the group, it'll never go up. And so I will raise the price as new members come on. And something we're doing recently is we're capping the number of members we'll accept per month. So if you don't make it in, you got to wait till next month.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're still kind of determining what number that will be. We're throwing around the number 5. We just started that, like talking about it now, but probably 5 people per month. So if people miss out, you're going to wait till the next month.
And how much is it to join?
So right now it's $900 per quarter or $3,000 per year. You get the same exact thing. It's just how often you're billed.
Got it.
And I don't do it monthly, and the reason why is because if somebody joins for a month, they're not giving themselves enough runway to get the true result that they sought to achieve from the start.
Interesting.
And so I want people to be in there for a quarter so they can see what it does for them.
What's the level of skill? I mean, are you getting some very experienced people, new people?
Yeah, so there's 2 types of people that we're seeing join, and it can be both, but sometimes it's not, like the type of person I'm about to describe. So the first type of person is somebody that's at like deals 2 through 10, and I say those numbers specifically for a reason. If you're on deal number 1 and you've never done any real estate transactions and you're also not in the space, like you're not an agent, you haven't partnered with anybody else doing a flip or anything. If that kind of person applies, we have like an application process. If that person applies, I'm going to get on a phone call with them. And during that phone call, I'm trying to discern if they're a massive action taker and they're going to just become obsessed with everything they can get from this group. If they're not that person, I'm not going to let them in. Because that's the kind of person that stops showing up for calls and then complains about the result they didn't get from the effort they never put in, which I'm a big believer in that. So anyway, people that are doing deals 2 through 10, regardless of strategy, right? We got people in there that are doing development, people doing flips, people doing rentals, people doing house hacking, etc. And people that have an existing business that are looking for resources, a network with accountability, and some education to optimize their existing business. So that can be, people with very successful businesses.
So it's not necessarily only real estate.
Everybody in there is real estate.
Everybody in there is real estate, but you don't have to be a realtor or you don't have to be an investor.
No, we got a guy in there right now. He's doing an acquisition of an HVAC company. He's a real estate investor too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, so you got your real estate license in around COVID, you said?
So I was an investor first.
You were an investor first.
And then I was like, I want better access to my own deals. Let me get my license. I never had any intention on working with clients at all. And so I got my license in 21. And now I do work with clients, and I'm selective about who I work with, but that goes
good.
Yeah.
It's a tough business.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. Sometimes you pull your hair out, but it's, kind of like you said in the beginning, it's not rocket science. None of this is. Anyone can do this.
Yeah.
But it does take time, energy, and effort to learn the process. And there are mistakes along the way you can make that'll screw you up. Or if you're an agent, screw someone else up. And that's something you never want to do.
Yeah.
How's your experience with being a real estate agent and being an investor first? I was the opposite. I was an agent and then investor.
I think it allowed me to deliver value to clients at a level I would have taken years to learn. So, like this is one of my favorite things, walking a property with a newer investor. Maybe they have a couple flips. I'm like, hey, that flat roof is rolled bitumen material. Like if it's lasted 8 years, it probably only has 2 years left. Like here's the roofing guy you need to contact for the flip. Like they'll give you the best price. And like, here's how I know all those things, because I've had to learn that myself. Versus like you're an agent starting out, you're like, what? Like, what's a flat roof? Like, what does that mean? You know? So,
Well, I was selling houses before I owned one myself, and that's the same as Tyler. Tyler's 21 years old. Sells a listing to one of his friend's moms, or sells her house, and you haven't owned a home, Tyler, so that's a tricky situation for a customer to understand. But if you give them confidence, you can push through. But I do see what you're saying. You have all that knowledge and essentially expertise, especially too with the contract itself. I mean, you've put your own money at risk.
yeah.
Now you're helping someone buy a home, and you can kind of avoid pitfalls along the way.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine doing it the other way. I imagine it's super challenging.
It is challenging. It's challenging when you're very young. Tyler can tell you that, but yeah, man, it's not easy, but that's interesting. So is that a part of the business that you want to scale out to, the agent side of it?
So I have a team now. I have 3 agents that work under me. So I mentor them and make sure they get resources as they grow. I don't want to grow to the point where I don't have like an intimate connection with people that are on my team, because that's not really my style. So I think at some point we would cap it, but it takes the right. I mean, whether you work like on my team as an employee or a vendor or an agent, like you got to have a high drive. Like if you're not a 6 out of 10 drive, I don't really want to, like, it's not going to happen. So we try to find the right people.
Are you doing like 5:30 in the morning workout type stuff?
5:30, you sleeping in?
Yeah, man, you run a tight ship. That's good though. You have to. It's a people business. People need to be held accountable. And the thing is too, there's so many people on this planet. Why not pick the good ones?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've had to move through at least one bad apple you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't want to, I would caution to say like anyone's bad.
Yeah.
Just because somebody doesn't have high
The wrong
drive.
fit is probably a better way to say it.
Probably 7. Probably 7 people in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep.
7 in 2 years.
Yeah. Yep. If I counted. I mean, some like weren't, some were family circumstances.
Right.
Like stuff came up. But I think in society right now, like nobody loves the idea of working hard. Or very few, I should say.
It's true.
Yeah.
And we're moving, now we are in an election year. Welcome to 2024. And if this year is anything like 2020, it's going to be a complete shit show. I guess the only good news is if you are a strong person and you're resilient, you can push through that. And especially as a real estate investor, there's going to be some opportunities.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So get your war chest ready.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw you posted a video of, was it the FBI raiding one of your homes? Can we talk about that?
Yeah,
what the hell's going on? What are you doing over there?
Yeah, so just from like background military experience, I know that real world training is very valuable and too seldomly conducted. And so we knew we were going to knock one of our projects down. And so I just posted a story on my Instagram. I was like, hey, if anybody has connections to SWAT with Hillsborough County Sheriff, Tampa PD, or FBI, hit me up. And just people poured in, put me in touch with the right folks. And I said, hey, do you want to do training at one of our teardowns? You can do whatever you want to the building within the next month before we tear it down. We're demoing the whole thing. And both the Hillsborough County Sheriff and FBI said they wanted to do it. And so
Amazing.
That building's no longer there, but they came and did some real world training there, and they got some value out of it. And we're glad to deliver value back to the community in that way.
That's so cool, man. So they're essentially hitting this house, what do they plan? Like a sample hostage situation type deal?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
What a creative way. That's really interesting. Yeah, people are like, I never thought of that. What did the neighbors say?
I knocked on their doors to let them know, and they didn't answer. I was like, I guess y'all find out here in a second. Because they threw like flashbangs and stuff.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was loud for a bit, but it's all good.
But like you said, though, I mean, this is so valuable for them. Why not help them out?
Yeah, especially in society right now, I feel like law enforcement's really under the gun, so to speak, with like really under a lot of scrutiny for conducting themselves the right way. And when you think about it, like them getting the most realistic and the best training possible is in everyone's best interest. So they know how to handle like very high stress type scenarios well.
Yeah, thank God for these guys. I'm really glad that some of the rhetoric has turned around a little bit in the last few years. It seems like they're a little bit more respected.
Yeah.
A few years ago, it was crazy what some people were saying, but that's awesome. Good for you. I'm glad you're doing stuff like that, man. Cool. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. This was an
Yeah.
awesome conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Can we kind of plug your Instagram, let people know how to find you, how to connect with you?
Yeah, JPL Invest on Instagram. We're gonna try to have some more fun with content this year. I sometimes I can get a little too serious sometimes. So yeah, if you're interested in the group, we got the Elite Investor Mindset group there.
T-shirt. I'm getting a damn T-shirt.
Yeah, we should have brought. We'll give you one. We'll hook you up.
I got one for you too after the show. And then also, if you want to join the what is it called, the Elite Investor Mindset group, that's on your Instagram too. It's the second link. And another meetup in February, right?
Yeah, February 21st.
Pending guest.
We're guest to be announced. Topic: trying to focus on taxes because the taxes are going to come up in April or October if you extend. But
That's a good topic.
trying to hit taxes.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like it. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, give us a comment, give us some feedback. We want to know how we're doing. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.